Hello and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Srikant coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bengaluru, and we're keeping it here with a special series that we have brought to you since last week on GST, its impact on internet businesses, its impact on job creation, and today we take it further and tell you how this means big business as far as startups are concerned, because so many startups have really modeled businesses around GST, have created new solutions to really take advantage of the opportunity that GST gives. Now, I'm afraid we haven't been able to feature all of them on our show. We will be doing that in the coming weeks, but to really understand the opportunity for startups, we have three key players who are doing this in their own way joining us on the show today. We have Archit Gupta, the founder and CEO of ClearTax. I'm sure he's been a very busy man in the last few weeks. We also have Balaji GS Rao, the co-founder of a recently launched startup called GST Star, launched in fact by former Infosys veterans, aimed at solutions around GST. We also have Rahul Garg, the founder and CEO of Moglix, a B2B commerce marketplace which now has an inbuilt solution, a GST-ready solution to really help its the sellers on its platform. Thanks so much, all three of you, for joining us here on Startup Central. Archit, I'm going to start with you. So much has been said about the opportunity around GST, but really explain to us what this means for startups and what it means for you in particular. Because people we've been speaking to are saying a lot of opportunities in helping small businesses transition to the GST economy in terms of compliance, in terms of returns, and you've actually invested $5 million in this. So in terms of the returns you've seen so far, the response you've seen so far, take us to the opportunities that you see for a startup in the GST era.
Right, Chandra. Thanks for having me. I think like the biggest opportunity that we see for the startup community and GST companies, right? Like there are 80 lakh businesses in the country which will need to get GST ready, right? So getting 80 lakh businesses GST ready is going to take like a full village, if you will, right? Like players like us and others will be required to go from the entire process of helping all the way from GST ready invoicing, GST returns, like compliance, legal, advisory. So a lot of job creation will not just happen in the startup and technology community, but a lot of job creation will happen in the areas of the CA firms, people who are going to help in GST compliance from a perspective of advisory, litigation, actually doing the data clerical work, data entry, to all the way from GST filing. The kind of impact and the kind of growth we are seeing has been amazing. Like it feels like such an awesome time here at ClearTax. Like I think every day the office starts at 6-7 a.m. and goes on till 1-2 a.m. I think incredible times, like thousands of users, businesses onboarded every day, and now our count is running into lakhs of lakhs of businesses onboarded, and 1,000+ enterprises onboarded which are using just the GST software that we've produced. So I think a bunch of them are using the invoicing solution. Like number of practitioners, professionals who we serve are starting to use the GST return modules, and a bunch of people are integrating with their ERPs, which like SAP, if you will, Oracle, if you will, Tally, if you will, or Microsoft, if you will, all of them connect to the GST software that we have, that push the invoicing data, sales register, purchase register, and the GRN, etc., which come to our software, and then the GST compliant tax returns are created, the right reports, mismatches, etc., are created, which are then pushed on to the government system. So I think there will be obviously a few large winners, and then there will be a long tail of a lot of players who will help out a very vast community of businesses. And we are seeing demand from remote corners of the country, from Erode to Ernakulam to anywhere in the country. I mean, it's been incredible. I think, but obviously 53% of our demand coming in from the top 7 cities, tier 1, and the rest 47 coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So obviously internet driven,
right.
A lot of it.
Right. Arshad, I dare say this is turning out to be your demo moment, so to speak, but in a positive sense. Balaji, come in on that. Arshad gave a sense of, the kind of demand they're seeing. GST Star was launched a few weeks back. So, has that bet paid off for you, quitting a much bigger company, starting this startup just at the time GST was taking off? What kind of response have you seen? And, you've also come up with some cost-effective solutions to target small and medium businesses. So has that really paid off?
Oh, definitely. In fact, it's very exciting times for us. Coming from a large company like Infosys and then starting up on our own, and then at a moment where the whole country is going towards a complete technology reform. In fact, GST, the way we see it, it's more of a technology reform as compared to the tax reform itself. And in this context, more and more businesses with the kind of push-pull effect the regulation has got will come into the tax net. In fact, our prediction is that the number of taxpayers would probably jump 3 times to 5 times kind of thing, because there are more taxpayers coming into the net, because that is what is getting incentivized. And also, they need to probably look at proper technology so that they automate the business processes. The way we see it, probably invoice is the king and the reconciliation is the queen. So that means probably you need to raise the invoices properly, keep track of your both sales side and purchase side, and do reconciliation in time so that you can get your right tax credit. So we are actually seeing a lot of people asking for these kind of things, and it has been an exciting time for us. And we definitely are working not only with SMEs. SMEs, of course, is one focus area for us. We are also working with large enterprises. We already have got confirmed orders from many of the big logos, and who are also looking at having these software installed on premise and then connect to the GSTN in a very seamless way, and also to their internal systems, the ERP systems, so that the whole process of reconciliation, the whole process of GST filing, with all the signatures, digital signatures, all of that happens in a very seamless way. And that's where I guess all the technology companies have got a great opportunity here, because as we see, companies are wanting to adopt latest technology, which is accessible from anywhere, probably from their mobile device or from their home PC or from office PC, and give a seamless experience. So that's what we are seeing.
Right. Rahul, your experience is slightly different, because you didn't choose to go with an external player, but you built a solution yourself to really help the buyers and sellers on your B2B commerce platform. So, take us through that in terms of, getting into a different area altogether. How has it helped, and how easy or difficult has it been to really get buyers and sellers to transition to GST on your platform? Because a lot of people feared the slow adoption, the problems in inventory as they adjust to GST. Have you seen that happening as far as Moglix is concerned?
So firstly, I think we need to look at the reform from the perspective, this is both a tax reform as well as a supply chain reform, which is being enabled using technology. Now, what has happened over the last 2 years, we have been working with 200 plus large enterprises and 100,000 plus SMEs, solving for various supply chain issues in terms of excise being charged, in terms of VAT, CST, import, export kind of tax invoices that needs to be handled. What we realized as part of it, and we have been engaged with the GSTN team almost now for a year, we were the first in the GSP Wave 1 to demonstrate a complete functioning GSP plus ASP solution. And we realized that many of the suppliers in our ecosystem and this 200 plus large enterprises need a solution from a player who understands their problems, who understands supply chain, who understand the implications that GST will cause for all of them. And we divide them into 5 categories of challenges. The first challenge gets easily solved by ERP upgradation, but then the problem really starts. Second challenge becomes, how do you get your invoicing reconciliation filed in a proper manner where green GST kind of solution enables you to do that? But doing it just for yourself is not sufficient, because you need to make sure that your entire supply chain is GST compliant. So you need to have a solution for your suppliers, for your dealers, distributors, customers as well. Once you start to solve for these technology-related challenges, you also need to think of, how do I think about my vendor database? How do I think about vendor consolidation? How do I think about creating digital supply chains? And that remains the core of Moglix. So what we have found, that using the expertise of supply chain, using the challenges that we faced in multiple states on excise, VAT, import and export, we are able to bring a unique supply chain expertise when we go and talk to organizations to make their entire supply chain GST compliant. And that is what we think is the key challenge. It is not a technology alone problem.
Right. Rahul, hold your thoughts there. I want to bring in Archit as well. Archit, Rahul making an important point there that, this is not just a tax reform. It's also a supply chain reform, which is why perhaps they felt that companies themselves are better positioned to build these solutions, because they understand the problems of their target audience better. Would you agree? And, how well placed is an external service provider vis-a-vis of Moglix itself, which has gone out and built a GST-ready solution for buyers and sellers on its platform?
Right, Chandra. So I think I would like to start off by saying we've partnered with supply chain companies, we've partnered with logistics companies, various examples include Rivigo and others, and we've partnered with the likes of Amazon, right, which we recently announced a partnership with Amazon to get their entire marketplace merchants ready for GST. We've partnered with multiple companies which include the likes of Book My Show and getting cinema halls ready, and other companies ready, partnerships with various large FMCG companies, white good, electronic goods companies, aviation companies, logistics companies. So I think the supposition that there needs to be a specialization, I think to us, we feel like a tax problem has to be solved by a tax company, tax plus technology company, which we are. So I think various people have various hypotheses, right? It's completely fair, and I think it's such a large market. It really doesn't matter how many players start, how many players attempt the problem, because at the end of the day, we are all getting India GST ready, right? So not a very big problem. I think we recently announced partnerships with Oyo. We recently announced partnerships with very traditional companies, etc. Certain work we are doing with Reckitt, certain work we are doing with other FMCG companies. So I think it's really just boils down to a matter of whether it's a supply chain issue, whether it's a services issue, whether it's a whether it could be it really doesn't limit itself to one part of the problem. I definitely strongly agree that GST is a massive supply chain reform and logistics reform. So I think logistics companies, supply chain companies, warehousing companies, and B2B platforms are very well positioned to acquire customers at this point. And we recently announced a partnership with Industry Buying, for example. So I think various platforms, various approaches, I think a lot will emerge. We think the specialization that we bring, the tax technology expertise, and then also helping close the loop with the CA and the experts, I think it really makes a difference. I think I completely agree with the point of that the supply chain must get ready, because the input credit is stuck. So that also is something we enable and help with.
Right. Archit, playing it safe there, I think, in a way. But Balaji, let me come to you. One point which Archit mentioned is that, it's a big enough market. But looking at it, it seems like, there are so many startups leveraging this GST opportunity in one way or the other. And I'm not even going to talk about the bigger players who are enlisted as GST Suvidha providers. Apart from that, you have so many startups, that are offering GST solutions. Is there enough space for everyone, or, is there now a problem of plenty? And are there too many people offering similar solutions as far as returns and compliance are concerned? Because, this is ultimately a technology platform. I mean, won't businesses figure it out on their own, say 2 or 3 years down the line?
See, businesses, I am from an IT background, so I can tell you for that. They have the the important decision of build versus buy whenever they are looking at a new product or a platform. So many a times they look around and then make a choice whether we need to build this or buy it. That is one important thing for any IT team of any company for that matter. So, but the point you're raising is that there are so many GSPs and so many aspiring startups, and is there a space for everybody? In fact, if you really deeply look into the GSP list itself, there is a mix of companies. There are technology companies, and there are some companies who are strong on services and things like that. So that being the case, the core of the issue is, if you really look at any tax-related technology, see, tax compliance goes by the rule book, and therefore it's very simple. Every other tax compliance software has to ensure that they are in line with the regulations. There is no change there. That means rules of the game is very much clear. So what really actually is the differentiator there is that, can I add in more features which will enable those steps to work seamlessly? For example, if I look at the reconciliation of invoices, can there be a good reconciliation engine which in matter of seconds reconcile between both your sales and purchase side invoices and highlight those exceptions? Let's assume even somebody comparing 1,000 invoices, and if it says there are 10 exceptions, then remaining is almost clear. So that's where technology brings in a lot of flexibility to these companies, and it's not only technology. If it is properly added, proper service and the collaboration platform, that's what is required. So that being the case, what we believe is that there is a space for many players.
Okay. Rahul, in terms of, Balaji saying that space for many people, but in terms of the job opportunity that this will have going forward, do you see startups creating a lot of jobs because of GST, or is this near-term exuberance that perhaps will die out in the next year or 2 or 3? What is your own sense as far as job creation by startups are concerned because of GST?
So I think one needs to look at job creation in multiple viewpoints. We look at macroeconomic viewpoint. One, the GST is expected to start an even bigger digital revolution, because all of these challenges which existed in multiple states trying to deal with different law and different structures will suddenly evaporate. So there will be economic growth which will happen over the next few years, spurred by this one change that is coming into the economy. The number of taxpayers will increase. The investment into infrastructure will change because of that. Now, in terms of startups, the opportunities are no longer limited to just thinking about it as an ASP problem. You can start to think of it as a fintech problem, because GST will open metrics which will enable a completely different credit and lending behavior that can be enforced on businesses. It will open new opportunities in logistics space, because you will start to have concepts like e-way bill. You will start to have many more of such opportunities which will continue to emerge. From a startup perspective, I think it is very important to deeply commit to a change and then follow through. And I think there will be a lot of such startups which will benefit as well as change the economy in the coming years.
Right. Last few minutes left. So, Archit, I'm going to get some estimate from you, considering you've been working on this area for many months now. In your estimate, how many startups are really there to offer GST-related services, whether, it's building interfaces or offering compliance-related services? I mean, the demand for chartered accountants, lawyers, I think has really gone through the roof in the last few months.
Right, Chandra. So I think very valid, very valuable insight there. Like what we see is the market is deeply underserved in terms of the advisory, data entry, the CA community, lawyer community, etc. On the aspect of startups, right, Chandra? I think there will be a few caveats I'd like to call out. The government portal will also be available. So many startups, if they're not able to differentiate, right, will lose out to, for example, the government portal. So I think not all startups will succeed. Many will start. I think few will see the end of the light. We saw a similar journey with ClearTax when we launched. There were hundreds of startups which we competed against, and then in the consumer tax we have a complete dominance. I think we expect many people will will start during this gold rush phase. But I think like a lot of technology, smaller technology companies will emerge addressing micro niches and niches, so that will work out well. They may not necessarily be VC funded or see like VC level growth. On the other aspect of like services businesses like CA services and other services, massive growth area for at least the next 2 to 3 years, like especially with a lot of new things will emerge in terms of like the servicing part, right? For example, we launched a GST certification e-learning training course and basically certification. Thousands of CAs, thousands of experts have gone through our courseware and gotten GST certification and are starting to put that on their resume and now starting to serve the general market as July 1 GST launch has happened. So I think like upskilling will be a key need in the market, and then these people will come back and service. I think about 2 lakh to 3 lakh professionals is our estimate, which will be needed to serve out these 80 lakh businesses. I completely agree with Rahul's point around like fintech opportunities. A lot of lending fintech opportunities will open up, and micro opportunities will also open up, where data-led lending can be done for analyzing businesses on the basis of their GST data, and then like giving them better access to credit and working capital will also emerge. So I think massive opportunities will unlock, like not just linear. The ASP, GSP opportunity is very linear, very obvious.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned that, Archit, because it's precisely what Nandan Nilekani also told us in an interview day before yesterday, the huge opportunity that this will have on the formal lending side, because so many of these small businesses will become part of the formal economy, the organized economy. But Balaji, very quickly, you know, VCs, investors are often criticized for investing in herds. So now, is there a pattern where more and more money is going to go into any startup that says they are doing GST related work? I'm not taking anything away from you, but I'm just asking if we are going to see that pattern play out. We saw this fintech craze that's, you know, still playing out in the last year. Is there going to be a GST phase as far as VCs and investors are concerned?
In our view, you know, anything new happening, you know, all the stakeholders, they are looking. Even the employees, right, they want to work with probably with the greatest startup which is working on GST. That being the case, I think everybody is exploring from their point of view that what is this opportunity all about and how they can participate in it. And obviously, I think it's very clear that there will be more and more VC funds and people who wants to be part of this will be looking out for those opportunities. But of course, they will also look at the team which is behind this whatever initiative. I think they may not just splurge money just because somebody is working on GST. But on the other side, the opportunity is bigger, so that, you know, they can see in next 3 to 5 years what's going to happen. So that being the case, probably there will be that little rush is what I feel.
Right. One person on the panel who doesn't have to worry about VCs now is Rahul Garg. He's just raised his Series B, and no less than Ratan Tata, who's now, you know, part of the investor portfolio that he has. But on that note, I'm afraid we've run out of time on this discussion at ET Now Startup Central. As promised, we are going to bring you more and more startups in the coming weeks who are doing work around GST, but clearly this has opened up a plethora of opportunities, not just direct, but also ancillary opportunities, indirect ones. And we haven't even seen the huge opportunity on the lending front, because more and more small businesses will now become part of the organized economy. On that note, we come to the end of the show. Thanks so much for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.